A message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Captain Lisa Collins was reviewing crew reports on the bridge of the Earth Defense, Vessel Liberty, when her communication officer called her over. "Captain, you need to see this," said Officer Ryan. Bell, his eyes wide. "It's from the Zarkai Confederation." Lisa felt her heart rate quicken. The Zarkai were the dominant power in this sector of the galaxy. For nearly 20 years since first contact, they had kept humanity at arm's length. They shared some basic technologies, but denied Earth entry into their grand alliance of alien civilizations. Their official reason: humans were unpredictable and not yet ready. Lisa took the datapad and read the message twice to be sure she understood it correctly. "They want us to attend their strategic summit?" she asked, not quite believing it. "Yes, ma'am." "As observers only," Ryan added. Lisa tapped her cum badge. "Admiral Reeves, we've received an unusual communication from the Zarkai. I think you'll want to see this immediately." Within an hour, Lisa stood in the Earth Fleet Command conference room. The walls displayed star maps and Zarkai diplomatic records. Admiral William Reeves paced at the head of the table, while intelligence. Officer Kevin Wright sat quietly, his face showing deep concern. "This is unprecedented," said Admiral Reeves, his voice gruff but excited. "After years of keeping us out of their affairs, they suddenly want us at their most important strategic meeting about the Vespid threat." The Vespids were a problem for everyone. A hive-mind species from the outer reaches, they had begun aggressive expansion into both human and Zarkai territories. 3 human outposts had already been destroyed. "I don't trust it," said Kevin, looking up from his datapad. "The Zarkai have never valued human military input before. Why start now?" Lisa studied the formal invitation. It specifically states, "We are invited to observe only. No participation in discussions." Admiral Reeves nodded. "Even so, this is our chance to finally get a seat at the table, to show them we belong in their confederation." "Or it's a chance for them to show us something they want us to see," Kevin countered. "The question is why." Admiral Reeves straightened. His uniform. "Whatever their reasons, we can't refuse. Captain Collins, I'm appointing you to lead our delegation." Lisa felt a mix of pride and apprehension. "Thank you, sir. Who else will join me?" "You'll take Daniel Howard from Diplomatic Services and Major Grace Martinez from Military Strategy." Kevin frowned. "Just 3 people?" "This summit will have representatives from 12 advanced civilizations." "Those are the terms," Admiral Reeves said. The Zarkai were very clear. 3 observers, no more. Lisa spent the next 3 days preparing. She studied everything Earth knew about the Zarkai and the other Confederation species. She met with her team members to plan their approach. Daniel Howard was tall and thin, with a calm manner that put people at ease. His specialty was interspecies communication, and he had met with Zarkai representatives more than any other human. "Their culture values hierarchy above all," Daniel explained during their prep meeting. "They expect deference from less advanced species, which they consider us to be," Lisa added. Daniel nodded. "Exactly. We'll need to show proper respect while still maintaining dignity." Major Grace Martinez was different. Compact and muscular with alert eyes that missed nothing, she had fought in 2 campaigns against Vespid scouting parties. "I don't care about making friends," Grace said bluntly. "I want to know their defensive capabilities, weapon systems, and battle strategies. Even as observers, we can learn plenty if we're paying attention." "We'll need to be careful," Lisa cautioned. "We can't appear too curious about their military technology." "Agreed," said Daniel. "If they think we're there to steal their secrets, it could damage relations for years." The day before departure, Kevin Wright visited Lisa in her quarters. His expression was serious. "I've been analyzing Zarkai communication patterns," he said, placing a data chip on her desk. "In the last 6 months, They've lost more territory to the Vespids than they've publicly admitted. Lisa picked up the chip. You think they're more desperate than they're letting on? I think they want something from us, and it's not our sparkling conversation. Kevin's voice was grim. Watch your back, Lisa. All three of you? The journey to Nexus Station took 4 days aboard the diplomatic vessel Horizon. The ship was small but fast, equipped with the best engines Earth could produce. Still, Lisa knew it was primitive compared to Zarkai technology. As they approached the massive space station, Lisa stood on the observation deck with Daniel and Grace. Nexus Station hung against the backdrop of stars like a glittering wheel, its central hub connected to 12 spokes ending in habitat rings. Blue-white energy fields surrounded the structure, a defense system Earth scientists could barely understand. It's beautiful, Daniel said softly. And heavily armed, Grace added, noting the defense platforms positioned at strategic intervals. Their ship received docking instructions and was guided to a small bay on the outermost ring. Lisa felt the slight shudder as the magnetic clamps secured their vessel. Remember, she told her team as they prepared to disembark, we're here to learn whatever we can while appearing appropriately grateful for the invitation. The airlock cycled open, revealing their welcoming committee. 3 Zarkai stood waiting, their tall, slender bodies covered in iridescent scales that shifted color with movement. The central figure stepped forward, towering over the humans by at least 2 feet. I am Ambassador Zeeler, the alien said, its voice melodious despite the slight mechanical tone of the translation device. We are gratified you accepted our invitation. Lisa performed the formal greeting Daniel had taught her, bowing slightly while keeping her eyes up. We are honored by your generosity, she replied. Earth appreciates being included in these important discussions. Zeeler's scales rippled in a pattern Lisa couldn't interpret. The Council believes it educational to include less advanced species in our deliberations from time to time. Lisa felt the condescension in the words, but kept her expression neutral. Behind her, she sensed Grace tensing slightly. We look forward to being educated, Daniel said smoothly. The Zarkai led them through gleaming corridors where other alien species walked or floated by. Some glanced at the humans with obvious curiosity. Others seemed to deliberately ignore them. Lisa took in everything: the layout of the station, the security checkpoints, the technology visible in every doorway and panel. Whatever the Zarkai intended by inviting them here, she was determined that Earth would benefit from this opportunity. The summit would begin tomorrow. Tonight, they would attend a reception with all the delegates. As Lisa was shown to her quarters, she couldn't shake Kevin's warning from her mind. The Zarkai wanted something. Her job was to find out what before it was too late. Lisa stepped into the grand reception hall with Daniel and Grace at her sides. The room sparkled with lights that seemed to float in the air. Beings from 12 different worlds mingled, their voices creating a strange mix of sounds that the translation devices couldn't fully process. Remember, we're just observers, Lisa whispered to her team. Be polite, be interested, but not too interested. Grace nodded slightly, her eyes already scanning the room. Though she wore the formal blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps rather than her military attire, she carried herself like a soldier. There are at least 4 species here I've never seen in our records, Daniel said quietly. The one with 3 eye stalks, that must be a Krell, and the floating orbs are likely Medusan representatives. Ambassador Ehler appeared beside them so suddenly that Lisa almost jumped. The Zarkai's scales rippled with blue and gold patterns. Come, Zeeler said. You must be properly introduced. The next hour was a blur of names, species, and carefully worded greetings. Most of the alien representatives regarded the humans with what Lisa interpreted as polite disinterest. A few showed open curiosity. One, a bulky reptilian being called Greshtar, didn't hide his disdain. "Humans," he rumbled through his translator. "Your kind barely left your own moon before stumbling into our space. What could you possibly contribute? By observing our summit?" Before Lisa could respond, Daniel stepped in smoothly. "We come to learn, honored Greshtar. Earth recognizes its junior status in galactic affairs." The reptilian made a huffing sound that might have been amusement. "At least you know your place." He moved away to join a group of his own kind. "That went well," Grace muttered. Lisa was about to suggest they stay together when she noticed a tall crystalline being moving toward them. Its body appeared to be made of thousands of translucent geometric shapes that shifted and realigned with each movement. "Greetings, humans," the crystal being said. Its voice came directly into Lisa's mind rather than through a translator. "I am Prisma of the Tellurian Collective." Lisa offered the greeting gesture Daniel had taught her. "Captain Lisa Collins of Earth, these are my colleagues, Daniel Howard and Major Grace Martinez." Prisma's crystal body shimmered with internal light. "You are newcomers to our community of worlds. Yet reports indicate you have survived 3 internal wars that would have destroyed most developing species." Lisa exchanged glances with Daniel. The Tellurian was referring to World War II, the Cold War, and the resource conflicts of the 2030s, events in Earth's history that had nearly led to human extinction. "We've learned from our mistakes," Lisa said carefully. "Perhaps," Prisma responded. "Or perhaps there is something in your people that we find intriguing. A resilience." From across the room, Lisa noticed Zeeler watching their interaction with what appeared to be disapproval. The Zarkai ambassador quickly moved toward them. "The Tellurians are one of our oldest allies," Zeeler interrupted. "They enjoy studying emerging cultures." Prisma's crystals flickered in a pattern that might have been amusement. "The Zarkai prefer to call themselves our mentors rather than allies." An important distinction. Zeeler's scales darkened slightly. "The reception is ending. Tomorrow's summit begins early. Your observers should rest." After Zeeler guided them away, Daniel leaned close to Lisa. "That was interesting. I think we just witnessed some political tension." Prisma seemed friendly, Lisa noted. "Too friendly," Grace said with suspicion. "Why would an advanced species take such interest in us?" Back in their quarters, Lisa found she couldn't sleep. She reviewed the station maps they'd been provided, noting how limited they were. The human delegation had access to only a small portion of Nexus Station. Grace was already awake when Lisa entered their shared common room early the next morning. "I did a sweep for surveillance," Grace said quietly. "They're monitoring everything audio, visual, probably even our vitals." "Expected," Lisa replied. "Anything else?" Grace handed her a small data pad. "I mapped what I could of their security protocols. They're using quantum encryption, but it has patterns similar to what we're developing back home." Daniel joined them, looking refreshed despite the tension. "Ready to observe?" The meeting chamber was enormous, with seating arranged in concentric circles around a central holographic projection area. The human delegation was escorted to a separate observation gallery above the main floor. "You will have an excellent view of the proceedings from here," their Zakai guide explained. "The translation system will provide you with basic understanding of the discussions." Lisa noted the wording. "Basic understanding? Some concepts may be beyond current human comprehension," the guide said. "The system is adjusted accordingly." After the guide left, Grace whispered, "They're filtering what we hear." "Focus on what you can see," Lisa instructed. "Visual information might tell us more than their words." The summit began with a formal procession of delegates. The Zarkai Supreme Counselor, a tall figure with midnight blue scales, took the central position. The holographic area lit up, displaying a 3-dimensional map of this sector of the galaxy. Red areas marked Vespid-controlled territories. Lisa immediately noticed discrepancies between this map and Earth's intelligence reports. The Vespid expansion was more extensive than the Zarkai had previously shared with Earth. "They've lost the Darien system," Grace observed quietly. "That's only 3 light years from the Arcturus outpost." Daniel frowned. "If the Vespids take Arcturus, they'll have a direct path to Earth's colony on Proxima b." The Supreme Counselor began speaking, the translation coming through their earpieces. "The Vespid threat grows beyond our initial projections. Their hive. Ships have adapted to our defense systems faster than anticipated." As the strategic briefing continued, Lisa tried to access more detailed information through her datapad. A message flashed. "Access restricted for observer status." Grace was working on her own pad, her fingers moving subtly across the surface. She gave Lisa a meaningful glance. Later, Lisa knew Grace would tell her what she'd discovered. The morning session focused on Vespid attack patterns and biological information. The afternoon turned to defensive strategies. Throughout it all, Lisa noticed that Earth's territories were mentioned only in passing, as if they were an afterthought. During a short recess, Daniel disappeared to find refreshments. When he returned, his face was grim. "I overheard 2 Zarkai officials talking," he whispered. "They mentioned the human buffer zone and acceptable losses." Lisa felt a chill run through her. "They're not looking for allies, are they?" Grace shook her head. "They're setting us up as a shield." As the summit reconvened, Lisa watched the proceedings with new eyes. The friendly invitation, the observer status, the filtered information, it all pointed to one conclusion. The Zarkai didn't want partners in the fight against the Vespids. They wanted sacrifices. Lisa caught Daniel's eye, then Grace's. Both nodded slightly. They would need to be very careful about what they said and did from now on. But they would also need to learn everything they possibly could. The Zarkai had invited them to observe. They just didn't realize what the humans would see. That night, the human team met in Lisa's quarters. Grace had swept the room for listening devices and activated a small jammer she had smuggled in her personal effects. It wouldn't block sophisticated Zarkai technology completely, but it would muddy their conversations enough to give them privacy. "We need to confirm what we suspect," Lisa said, keeping her voice low. "The Zarkai are planning to use Earth as a first line of defense against the Vespids." Daniel nodded. "Those officials I overheard were quite clear. They spoke about acceptable human losses, as if our people were just numbers on a chart." Grace paced the small room. "With our current technology, we can't stand against a full Vespid assault. The Zarkai know this. They're counting on it. But why invite us here at all?" Lisa wondered. Why show us their plans if they intend to sacrifice us? "Control," Daniel said. "They want us to see exactly what they want us to see. A version of the threat that will make us react in ways that benefit them." Grace stopped pacing. "I've been working on their security systems. They're good, but not perfect. My military implants detected vulnerabilities in their data network." Lisa leaned forward. "Can you access information they're not showing us?" "Given time, yes. But we need to be careful. If they catch us, they could claim we violated the terms of our invitation." "We'll create a distraction tomorrow," Lisa decided. "Daniel, you stay close to Prisma and the other Tellurians. They seem unhappy with the Zarkai leadership. Find out what you can." "And you?" Daniel asked. "I'll play the perfect guest." Grateful, impressed, and completely fooled by their show. The next morning, the summit continued. New projections showed Vespid movement toward human space. Lisa watched. The Zarkai Supreme Counselor point to Earth's colonies with a dismissive gesture. "These settlements will likely draw Vespid attention due to their minimal defenses," the counselor said. "While regrettable, This may provide our fleet's valuable time to strengthen our core world's protection. Lisa kept her face neutral, even as anger burned inside her. She raised her hand politely, playing the role of the naive observer. "Honored counselor," she said when acknowledged, "Earth would benefit greatly from understanding your defensive technologies. Perhaps some knowledge sharing could help us better serve as ... allies." The counselor's scales shifted to a deep blue. "Observer Collins, we appreciate your interest. However, as previously established, Earth's technological development must proceed at its natural pace. Premature advancement has led to the destruction of other species." "Of course," Lisa replied with a humble nod. "We are grateful for your wisdom." While attention was on Lisa, Grace worked quickly on her datapad, exploiting a security gap she'd identified. Daniel had positioned himself near the Tellurian delegation and was engaged in quiet conversation with Prisma. The afternoon brought unexpected news. A Zarkai patrol had captured a damaged Vespid scout ship near the station. The delegates buzzed with excitement. A live Vespid specimen was rare. Lisa saw an opportunity. Would it be possible for us to observe the containment procedures? Earth has limited experience with Vespid biology. Ambassador Zeeler seemed ready to refuse, but the Tellurian representative Prisma spoke up. The humans should see their enemy up close. It would be ... educational. The Zarkai couldn't refuse without appearing to contradict their stated reason for inviting the humans. Zeeler reluctantly agreed. The captured Vespid ship was held in a secure dock. Lisa, Daniel, and Grace were escorted by both Zarkai and Tellurian guards. As they approached, Lisa got her first look at a real Vespid vessel. It was organic in appearance, with a chitinous hull that resembled an insect carapace. "Their ships are partly grown rather than built," explained the Zarkai scientist leading the examination. "The outer shell can self-repair minor damage." The Vespid inside was contained behind energy fields. It resembled a 2-meter-tall mantis with multiple limbs and compound eyes. Its exoskeleton gleamed with an iridescent green sheen. "It appears dormant," Lisa observed. "A defensive state," the scientist said, "but it is still transmitting to its hive." Grace perked up at this. "You can detect its communications?" "Of course, though we cannot decipher their meaning. The patterns are too alien for our translation systems." Grace studied the monitoring equipment carefully. Lisa watched her friend's eyes narrow with recognition. "Fascinating," Grace said. "The signal pattern reminds me of something, but I can't quite place it." Later, back in their secure room, Grace revealed what she had seen. "The Vespid communication patterns are remarkably similar to Earth's quantum encryption methods," she explained. "Different frequency, but the mathematical structure is almost identical." "That's impossible," Daniel said. "We developed those systems independently." "Maybe not so impossible," Lisa mused. "What if there's something fundamental about consciousness that leads to similar communication patterns? The Zarkai have never tried to communicate with the Vespids. They've only fought them." While they talked, Grace worked with her datapad. "I used the security gap I found to access their military database. I've been downloading as much as I can, without triggering alarms." She displayed a tactical map of Zarkai fleet movements. "Look at this. They're pulling their ships back from the human border, not reinforcing it." "They're abandoning us," Daniel said grimly. "Not just that," Lisa pointed to another sector. "They're positioning for a counterattack after the Vespids hit our colonies. And look here," Grace highlighted another area. "Weapon stockpiles near our space, but just outside treaty-specified zones. They're preparing to move in after we're weakened." The full picture was becoming clear. The Zarkai had invited them to observe a carefully crafted version of the Truth One that would send Earth scrambling to defend itself in ways that would ultimately serve Zarkai interests. So what do we do? Daniel asked. Confront them? Lisa shook her head. No, we keep playing their game. They invited us to observe, not realizing we'd see beyond their show. We need more information, Grace said, about both the Zarkai and the Vespids. And we need allies, Lisa added. Daniel, how are your talks with the Tellurians progressing? Prisma has hinted that several species are growing dissatisfied with Zarkai leadership. The Tellurians especially seem to think there might be other approaches to the Vespid situation. Lisa nodded slowly, a plan forming in her mind. Then let's give the Zarkai exactly what they expect from us, while we prepare something they'll never see coming. The next day, Lisa approached Ambassador Zeeler with an appropriately worried expression. The summit has been most educational, she said. Earth must begin preparing immediately. May we have permission to send updates to our government? Zeeler's scales rippled with satisfaction. Of course, Captain Collins. That is precisely why you are invited to observe. Lisa bowed respectfully, hiding her true thoughts. The Zarkai believed they were manipulating humans into position as cannon fodder. They had no idea they had just handed Earth the keys to their downfall. The summit entered its fourth day. Lisa sat in the observation gallery, watching the Zarkai Supreme Counselor discuss evacuation plans for worlds in the path of Vespid expansion. Not once did the counselor mention helping human colonies. Instead, he spoke of regrettable but inevitable losses in the outer sectors, where Earth settlements were located. Lisa maintained her facade of worried attention. She asked appropriate questions, took notes, and appeared deeply concerned about Earth's future. All the while, Grace continued her secret work, exploiting the security gaps she had found to gather more information. During the midday break, Lisa sought out Ambassador Zeeler. Ambassador, Earth is grateful for being included in these discussions, she said. We now understand the severity of the Vespid threat. Zeeler's scales rippled with satisfaction. Then our purpose in inviting you has been fulfilled. There is one matter that puzzles me, Lisa continued. The captured Vespid ship, have your scientists made any progress in understanding their communication patterns? Such matters are beyond your current level of development, Zeeler replied dismissively. Vespid neurological structures are entirely alien. Communication is impossible. Of course, Lisa nodded respectfully. I merely thought that perhaps understanding their intentions might help predict their movements. Their intention is clear total. Domination, Zeeler said firmly. The Zarkai have faced the Vespids for over 200 cycles. We know them better than any species. As Zeeler moved away, Prisma approached. The Tellurian's crystalline body glimmered under the chamber lights. Captain Collins, your interest in Vespid communication is noted, Prisma said directly into Lisa's mind. Not all of us share the Zarkai view that they are simply mindless destroyers. Lisa glanced around to ensure they weren't overheard. You've studied them as well? The Tellurian collective believes that all sentient life follows certain patterns. The Vespids are highly intelligent, despite their alien nature. Yet the Zarkai have spent centuries trying to destroy them rather than understand them. And what has your understanding revealed? Lisa asked carefully. Prisma's crystals shifted in what Lisa had come to recognize as a gesture of caution. This is not the place. Join me later in the botanical section. It is less monitored. When the day's sessions ended, Lisa and Daniel made their way to the botanical section, a large chamber filled with plants from dozens of worlds. Grace remained behind, continuing her work on accessing the Zarkai military databases. Prisma was waiting beside a tall blue tree with spiral branches. No other delegates were present. The Tellurian collective has existed for far longer than the Zarkai Confederation. Prisma began without preamble. We have observed many species rise and fall. The Zarkai achieved space travel only 8,000 Years ago. They are young and aggressive. And humans are even younger, Daniel noted. Yes, but you follow a different path. The Zarkai expanded through conquest and absorption of other species. Humans, despite your internal conflicts, seek cooperation first. Lisa considered this. You said not everyone shares the Zarkai view. Of the Vespids, what is your view? Prisma's crystals pulsed with light. We believe the Vespids are not invading, but fleeing. Something drives them from their home regions of space. Their attacks may be desperate attempts to secure safe territory. Have you tried to communicate this theory to the Zarkai? Daniel asked. Many times. They rejected. The Zarkai need enemies to maintain their political structure. Peace would threaten their hierarchy. Lisa thought about the communication patterns Grace had observed. The Vespid signals, they have similarities to human quantum encryption. Prisma's entire form brightened. Yes, we have noted this as well. There is a mathematical resonance between your communication systems and theirs. It suggests a potential bridge. A bridge the Zarkai have no interest in building, Daniel said. Precisely. And now they position you as sacrifices while they prepare for a war that might be unnecessary. Lisa took a deep breath. Are there others in the Confederation who share your views? The Medusan Conclave, the Drell Union, and the Solari Republic all have reservations about Zarkai leadership, but they fear breaking away. They need an alternative, Lisa suggested. Prisma's crystals aligned in a new pattern. Perhaps. What do you propose, human? I'm not proposing anything yet, Lisa said carefully. But if Earth survives what's coming, we may have much to discuss. When they returned to their quarters, Grace was waiting with excitement barely contained. I've mapped their entire defense network, she said, displaying complex diagrams on her datapad. The Zarkai use a centralized command structure. Knock out their primary relay stations, and their fleet coordination fails. Lisa examined the information. Any weaknesses in their weapon systems? Several. Their shield harmonics have a fluctuation pattern that could be exploited. And their targeting systems have a blind spot at close range. They never fixed it because no one gets that close to their ships. Daniel whistled softly. This is invaluable intelligence. That's not all, Grace continued. I found their assessment of human military capabilities. They've significantly underestimated us. They don't realize our quantum physics research has advanced so quickly in the past 5 years. Lisa nodded thoughtfully. So they expect us to fight conventionally and lose. Exactly. They've calculated Earth will lose 40% of its colonies before the Zarkai rescue arrives. Rescue with strings attached, no doubt, Daniel added. Lisa moved to the window, looking out at the stars. We have 2 more days of the summit. We need to learn everything we can about Vespid movements, Zarkai vulnerabilities, and potential allies. What then? Daniel asked. Then we go home and prepare. Not for the defense the Zarkai expect, but for something they'll never see coming. Next morning, a commotion spread through the summit. Sensors had detected a Vespid fleet moving toward Nexus Station. The delegates were in a panic until the Zarkai military commander announced it was just a small scouting group, easily handled by the station's defenses. Lisa used the distraction to approach the monitoring center where data on the Vespid ships was being collected. With Grace beside her, she watched the tactical displays showing the Vespid vessels' movements. Look at their formation, Grace whispered. It's not an attack pattern. They're scanning the station, staying just outside weapons range. They're gathering intelligence, just like we are, Lisa realized. A Zarkai officer noticed their interest. Observer Collins, this area is restricted during tactical operations. Of course, forgive me, Lisa said, bowing slightly. We were merely concerned for the station's safety. As they were escorted out, Lisa exchanged a meaningful glance with Grace. The Vespids weren't mindless destroyers. They were strategic, careful, and possibly, if Prisma was right, simply looking for safe haven. Back in the summit chamber, Lisa watched the Zarkai leaders with new eyes. They weren't the all-knowing protectors they claimed to be. They were just another species with their own agenda, using others as pawns in their power games. The humans had been invited to observe. Now they had seen everything they needed to see. On the final day of the summit, the human delegation prepared to leave Nexus Station. They had gathered more intelligence than the Zarhi could possibly imagine. Grace had downloaded technical specifications of Zarshukai weapons, shields, and propulsion systems. Daniel had secured quiet promises of support from the Tellurians and 2 other species. Lisa had mapped out the entire Zarkay command structure and their plans for the coming conflict. Ambassador Zeeler met them at their ship, his scales shimmering with what Lisa now recognized as smug satisfaction. "We trust your observations have been enlightening," Zeeler said. "Earth must prepare for difficult times ahead." Lisa bowed respectfully. "We are grateful for your wisdom and guidance, Ambassador. Earth now understands its place in the greater galaxy." "Your acceptance of reality is commendable," Zeeler replied. "Perhaps when this crisis has passed, we might discuss further integration of human settlements into our protective sphere." "We look forward to that day," Lisa said, keeping her expression humble while inwardly seething at the thinly veiled colonization threat. As their ship pulled away from Nexus Station, the 3 humans finally relaxed. "He really believes we're going home to cower and wait for rescue," Daniel said. Grace nodded. "The Zarshai are so convinced of their superiority that they can't imagine we saw through their plan." "That arrogance will be their downfall," Lisa said. "Set course for Earth. We have a lot of work to do." The journey home was spent organizing their intelligence and preparing their report. When they arrived at Earth Fleet Headquarters 3, days later, Admiral Reeves and the entire Defense Council were waiting. The briefing room was silent as Lisa laid out everything they had discovered. The Zarkai planned to use Earth as a buffer, the potential opportunity to communicate with the Vespids, the weaknesses in Zarkai technology, the possible allies among other Confederation species. "They invited us to observe," Lisa concluded, not realizing what we would see. Admiral Reeves studied the tactical displays showing Zarkai fleet movements. "They're already pulling back from our border sectors." Kevin Wright, who had been quiet until now, pointed to another section of the map. "And Vespid scout ships have increased activity near Proxima B. We have perhaps 2 months before a major incursion." "So what do we do?" asked one of the council members. "We can't match either the Zarkai or the Vespids in direct combat." "We don't have to," Lisa said. "We have 3 advantages the Zarkai don't know about." She activated a holographic display. First, our quantum communications. Grace discovered that Vespid signal patterns share mathematical similarities with our systems. We might be able to establish basic communication. "Talk to the Vespids?" Admiral Reeves looked skeptical. "The Zarkai have tried for centuries." "No, they haven't," Daniel corrected. "According to the Tellurians, the Zarkai never tried communication. They went straight to warfare." Lisa continued. "Second, we know the Zarkai battle plans. They expect the Vespids to hit here, here, and here." She highlighted several human colonies. "Then they plan to counterattack after we're weakened." "And third," Grace added, "we have potential allies. The Tellurians, the Medusans, and the Solari all have reservations about Zarkai leadership. They need an alternative. An alternative we can provide," Lisa finished. Over the next 6 weeks, Earth implemented a 3-part plan. First, a special team of linguists and mathematicians worked day and night to develop a communication protocol based on the Vespid signal patterns. Second, Earth moved its defensive fleet into positions that appeared to follow Zarkai expectations. while secretly establishing hidden outposts at key strategic locations. These outposts were designed not for fighting, but for monitoring and quick response. Third, diplomatic missions were quietly sent to the Tellurians, Medusans, and Solari. Daniel led these talks, offering genuine collaboration, rather than the Zarkai's hierarchical approach. When the Vespid fleet finally appeared at the edge of human space, they encountered something unexpected. Instead of defensive fire, they received a mathematical signal, a simple sequence of prime numbers, followed by a more complex equation that mirrored their own communication patterns. For 3 tense days, there was no response. Then a return signal came. Simple at first, and increasingly complex. Communication had been established. The breakthrough came when Earth. Scientists managed to transmit images showing the region of space the Vespids had fled. The return message confirmed Prisma's theory. The Vespids were refugees, fleeing a destructive force in their home region. While this exchange was happening, Ambassador Zealer arrived in Earth orbit aboard a Zarkai battlecruiser. "We have come to assist in your defense," Zealer announced, clearly expecting to find Earth colonies under attack. Admiral Reeves invited the ambassador to the command center. There, Zealer was shocked to see Lisa speaking with a holographic representation of a Vespid leader. "What is this?" Zealer demanded, scales flashing with alarm. "You communicate with the enemy?" "Not an enemy, Ambassador," Lisa said calmly. "A refugee species seeking safe territory. Something your people never bothered to discover in centuries of conflict." Before Zealer could respond, the command center screens lit up with incoming signals. A Tellurian ship appeared, followed by vessels from the Medusans and the Solari. "What is happening?" Zealer's voice was no longer confident. "A new alliance," Lisa explained. "One based on cooperation rather than domination. The Tellurians, Medusans, and Solari have joined with Earth to establish a peaceful resolution with the Vespids." "This is impossible," Zealer sputtered. "You were merely observers." "Yes," Lisa agreed, "and we observed very carefully. We saw your intentions to use us as sacrifices. We saw your plans to claim our worlds after we were weakened. We saw everything you never meant us to see." Daniel stepped forward. 4 Confederation species have now withdrawn from Zarkai leadership. Others are considering following. And the Vespids have agreed to cease hostilities in exchange for uninhabited systems near the Galactic Rim, Grace added. Systems the Zarkai deemed worthless, but which will support Vespid biology perfectly. Zealer's scales had turned a pale gray, a sign of shock. Lisa had learned. The Supreme Council will never accept this. "They already have," Lisa said, showing a transmission from Nexus Station. "Your leadership is practical, if nothing else. They recognize when they've been outmaneuvered." 2 weeks later, representatives from Earth, the Tellurians and Medusans, the Solari, and remarkably, the Vespids met to formalize their new coalition. As Zarkai sent observers, their roles now reversed. As Lisa signed the agreement on behalf of Earth, she thought about how it had all begun. The Zarkai had invited humans to observe, believing them too primitive to understand the complex game being played. They had failed to realize that observation was humanity's greatest strength. Humans had always learned by watching, adapting, and finding unexpected solutions. The Zarkai had invited them to observe. The humans had walked out, knowing where to strike.